maximum firepower.
Brace for impact.
This is the second episode of the Brace for Impact podcast, where we tell you how to be better at Star Wars Armada by analyzing battle reports, reviewing cards, and going over the specifics of list construction. We've got a couple of battle reports to cover today. The first one is one that we played, I think it was like 2 weeks ago now, which is my Starhawk list, the Fortress of Solitude list, versus your 2 ISDs on an Asteroid Tactics.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, this was a pretty good game for me, at least as far as destroying the Starhawk once in my fucking life.
Yeah.
And so I ran the double ISDs, and the whole goal of that was to get as many kinds of commands as possible by stacking Thrawn with 2 different fleet commands to try and like make the ISDs as efficient as possible. And it's worked out pretty well. I've flown this like 3 or 4 times after this game, and it's been doing really well.
Yeah. So my Starhawk list was just a single Starhawk with Krista Agate, Christmas Treat out with Damage Control Officer and the super weapon to slow you down, 2 flotillas, one with Leia, Commsnet, one with Torin, and then a bunch of aces with mostly Rogue, but then 2 A-Wings as well, Shara and Tycho, just designed to smash any big ship that tries to fight it, wreck any MSU list with salvo and just too much health and shields, and any kind of fighter-based list wouldn't be able to get the damage done because of my aces before, the Starhawk can kind of just wipe out whatever ship is left. But
yeah, it's pretty terrifying to go against with any kind of small ship, just because of how many you'll just go like double salvo,
yeah,
and just completely smash anything that's trying to attack it that doesn't have any kind of survivability.
Yeah, and we talked about the adaptability of having Krista plus Unity giving you a redirect plus a token of your choice means that you can spec it out after you deploy it based on the list that you're fighting against. So with this double ISD list, obviously I'm bringing a second brace to deal with Avenger and trying to have a green brace all the time. But like we'll see later, the other list that you brought, the MSU list, I went for double salvo just to always have the threat of a shot back when you have a bunch of ships coming at the Starhawk. So that works really well. Asteroid Tactics as an objective I found to be not super helpful for this list design, but you were able to take advantage of it and put out 2 ISDs that were able to maneuver so well that they were just dealing damage and not taking it back, if that makes sense.
Well, the maneuverability of the ISDs doesn't really have to do with the Asteroid Tactics, but more of the Fleet Command evasive maneuvers that I brought. It allows you to add an extra yaw at your last joint at whatever speed you're at. And so that really helps. But I think Asteroid Tactics as an objective is pretty poor. I can't really think of a list that would be like, oh yeah, bring Asteroid Tactics. That'll really make you win the game.
Yeah. And remind us, how does Asteroid Tactics work?
So whenever a squadron or a ship overlaps an asteroid, if you're the second player, you can recover a discarded defense token. If you're the first player, then you can only unexhaust a defense token. And there's no way to gain victory points or anything. It's just dealing with the objective or the defense tokens, which is pretty awful. I mean, second player I think can ignore obstacles while moving over them, which I guess is
Right.
okay. But as we saw, you were trying to maneuver in the middle of the small cluster of asteroids we had, and I mean you've got like one chance to overlap the asteroid, and if you just miss it at the wrong turn, or if you're just not in position to turn into one to get a token back, it's very poor.
It doesn't give enough advantage as second player compared to some of the other yellow objectives, I think.
Yeah, some of the yellow objectives give like huge advantages to the second player, but a lot of them are really disadvantageous to second player, depending on what kind of list you're running.
Right.
They almost seem like traps. A lot of trap cards in the yellow objectives.
Yeah, I will say like the ISD list that you ran was able to make sure that through positioning the Star Destroyers, I would never have the shot I wanted on the Starhawk, and you would always have the shot that you were trying to get on the ISD.
Yeah, it was really difficult to do, or to at least think up a list, because normally you would want to run Jedrod on like double ISDs, so you can always get them in position. Jedrod helps you turn really sharp, as everyone knows, but with evasive action, you can't turn as sharply, but depending on your speed, you can pivot really hard. Right. So you can still be going fast, but you won't have to turn as sharp to get your arc where you want it. So it's really effective for dodging double arcs, and like if you're running up against like another ISD, it's really good for dodging their front arc, but also getting your front arc on target, possibly with a double arc. And so I really like the take evasive action fleet command.
Yeah, it worked really well to keep the ISDs from just kind of getting into too much of a slugfest.
Yeah, that was a big problem I had in our last game, where it was Fortress of Solitude versus double ISD. Is I would get one of my ISDs would have a front arc shot, the other one wouldn't, and then that was it. Right. Every other shot was like side or rear arc.
Yeah, it was a good match, and it was interesting to see kind of number one, there was a kind of the fact that I doubled down on recovering defense tokens between Whalix and Asteroid tactics didn't really reap additional benefits.
Yeah, it seems like you exhausted the kind of diminishing return of recovering defense tokens.
Right.
Or like after you have Whale Explicics, you've got 6 already, so you have like 7 defense tokens that you can spend throughout the whole game. God, do you need more than that?
Yeah, and like I was thinking in my head, like, okay, I have the ability to recover multiple defense tokens because of these two interactions working together, so I can more liberally spend my defense tokens earlier on in the match. And kind of what ended up happening was when I needed them, they weren't there, and I wasn't able to maneuver onto the asteroids enough to recover enough defense tokens to kind of like make up for that fact. Mm-hmm. So it would be interesting to see a rematch between these two lists on a different objective, where that temptation, like I kind of overcome that temptation of like, well, let me just spend all my defense tokens willy-nilly because I can recover unlimited defense tokens,
And then you ended up not able to get any of them back.
Right.
And yeah, that's... What would you replace instead of like Asteroid Tactics? What would you use instead of that one? I mean, I know you have Planetary Ion Cannon for our next match that we're going to go over in a second, but...
yeah, something along the lines of Planetary, or I mean even like Fighter Ambush works really well because I have a bunch of rogue fighters that wouldn't mind being placed in the middle of the map.
Yeah, that's true.
Something I
And
think
that
that I
one
can
gives you victory
generate points
points as
off of.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are always the strongest objectives, the ones that give you double points for killing a ship, or you can just consistently rack in victory points. Those are always the ones to go for.
Yep. At least like as bidding for second player, you want to have those as options for you.
Yeah. All right. So what do we got for the next game?
So
Game two.
the next game was the same Starhawk list, but it was uh, a bunch of smaller Imperialist ships. So there was an Architins demo, Raider, a bunch of Decimators, and a couple of Imperial Aces. And
Yeah, this was one that I ran.
I don't remember the objective
It,
on this though.
this one was infested fields,
Okay.
which I think is a pretty cool objective.
Yeah, it was a lot more engaging than Asteroid Tactics for one. There was like
and like after playing it one time, because I think this is the first time we played infested fields.
Yeah.
It gives you a lot of like control of the asteroids, being able to position them in front of like larger ships. And I think we played it incorrectly where the Exogorths, like when they attack squadrons, like it taps them to have already activated,
Right.
if they haven't already. I don't think we did that for that match, but that seems pretty good for like locking down a few squadrons and just keeping them in one location, you know.
Yeah, and this between the Exogorths coming in and attacking squadrons being an additional obstacle for ships, and then also the ability of second player to move the asteroids that he places Exogorths on. You were doing some interesting things where you were constantly maneuvering the rock to be underneath or in front of the path of my Starhawk, so it would just continuously land on it turn after turn, giving like crit, 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 you know. So
and another thing is like you move the asteroids, and then at the end of the round you place the Exogorths, which are also obstacles. So I think there was one turn where I put two asteroids in front of the Starhawk, and then just kind of like had the Exogorths both facing each other and kind of creating like a wall of obstacles from your front arc, so that the whole front arc was obstructed.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of clever things you can do with it, and I like that. I mean, anything with the ability to like add that like adjustment to the obstacles in the game, I think is pretty powerful.
I agree.
So this game played out obviously a lot differently from the dual ISD list. From your perspective, you deployed the Raider and a bunch of Decimators on the right-hand side of the map, and the Demo and Argotins on the left-hand side of the map, kind of like a hammer and anvil pincer type attack. And then I kind of deployed the Starhawk and everything else in the middle on my side. And we're kind of like, I had an option here of going after the squadron ball or going after the two, higher point cost ships. So I kind of just point the Starhawk off toward Demolisher and the Architins, and then kind of just screen the Demolishers with A-Wings and my Rogues. Or I'm sorry, the Decimators.
Yeah.
And it worked out pretty good in terms of just like the Decimators are really strong, and you had intel in there to try to get them to do the damage. But I was able to get the jump on you because I used Leia Leia's on one of my flotillas. I used her to change the Starhawk command dial to squadron. It activated between the flotilla and the Starhawk. Almost all of my squadrons during the ship phase, they jump on all of your decimators and were able to lock them down so that you couldn't intel all of them to get them free, and then killed your intel. Now your decimators are trapped for the rest of the game fighting with my squadrons while the Starhawk, basically 1v1's demo. and the
Yeah, that was
flotillas
one of
were
the
kind
things
of
I
like,
wasn't really expecting is like the ability to use Leia. Well, you kind of trapped me because in like round 2 I moved Merrick and Dengar up, to get them ready to start attacking because you want Merrick Steele in there as fast as possible so he can just lay down that fire.
yeah,
And then you positioned like 3 of your aces like behind your Starhawk, and then used Leia the next turn to change it to a squadron, and then you just jumped Dengar and just you got him to like 1 health right off the gate, and it was really nasty for me. Like I should have kept them back with the rest of the decimators, but you were clever with your rock positioning. I put mine right at distance 3, and you put them way off. I think beyond distance 5.
yeah,
And this was something I was thinking about after we finished this game. Is for infested fields, if you put them at distance 3, your squadrons can be placed beyond distance 3, basically a distance 5
right,
from your deployment zone. So when I put my squadrons down, I had to back them up. I backed up like 3 decimators to get those victory points, and then Merrick Steele and Dengar were basically on their own. They got jumped.
yeah, and yeah, for sure. So you can see I placed the rocks that was able to position essentially halfway across the board, like in the middle,
Yeah,
knowing I have A-wings deployed there and I have first player. I can command them to immediately take 2 of the objective tokens, and then we kind of proceed with the game from there. It's almost a free 30 points off the bat.
yeah.
You
Well, once they get them, they're already in a more forward position
mhm,
than my squadrons, because mine basically stayed in the deployment zone
yeah,
after turn 1, and they were too slow to get to the party.
yeah, and then also being A-wings, they move a lot faster than decimators. So the fact that they did kind of go to the side, away from where I really wanted them, which was to engage the decimators, it didn't matter because 1 turn later they were still on top of what they needed to be on top of.
Yeah, I probably should have put my asteroids in a more forward position so that I didn't realize how useful it would be to move the asteroids and debris clouds like with the exogorths.
Yeah,
So I think next time if we play asteroid tactics, I'll put them like really close together, but like more in the middle of the board, and just use Merrick to pick them up.
right, because he's fast.
Yeah, he's fast. But yeah, losing Dengar in round 2 was really
It basically
terrible.
made it so that your list's alpha strike is what, 5 decimators,
It's 3 decimators, Morniki, and Merrick Steel,
right?
which
So
is a crazy number of dice to
if it
throw
was able
in
to
1 round.
connect with the Starhawk, would have been a huge amount of damage. And if it can happen at the same time as Demolisher rolling in on the same turn, can like overwhelm tokens because squadrons really want to make you spend your defense tokens, and so taking a big hit from a bunch of squadrons and a big hit from a ship like Demo at the same time can be really, really bad. Because of those small squadron maneuvers, like that alpha strike from the squadrons actually never came. Like a decimator never shot at the Starhawk because all of my shit jumped on top of your decimators. Shara is doing Shara things. The Starhawk just kind of floated away at speed 2, and
Yeah, and then all your squadrons, the squadrons just tore into each other, and
yeah, it shot at the Raider 1 time, brought it to 1 health, got finished off by a squadron later. Then it turns over and smashes Demo because Demo hits above its weight, but does not solo a Starhawk with damage control officer.
no, it
It just
doesn't.
doesn't. And I tried, well, successfully, I think, with my flotillas to keep Demo from approaching the way that it wanted and keep it from doing like a double tap or anything like that. So I think that Demo actually didn't really ever roll black dice on the Starhawk either.
Yeah, that was just something I kind of gave up on from the start. Is like if I can't get a good position on the Starhawk, if I can't get the decimators in there and start tearing away shields at like round 2 or 3, then there's no even point for a Demolisher to go in because it just can't do that much damage.
Yeah.
like demo can do a lot of damage. It can give you a crit with APT. It can roll like 7 damage from like one shot, but you know, brace redirect, and then you just redirect it to the front. You got 6 shields there. It's like, all right, there you go. And I'm second player here, so I don't have the advantage of last firsting.
Yeah, there's no triple tap for demo, which like I'm still convinced that for demo you always want to bid for first, even though like Asteroid Tac or Infested Fields did give you like a 15-point advantage and the ability to move the rocks. Like it ended up not impacting the result of the game enough to matter, in my opinion. Now,
I agree.
Would demo triple tapping the Starhawk have killed it? I don't
Probably
know.
not.
But
No,
it
would have helped.
Could have helped. Yeah, it could have. So the game kind of proceeded with like our squadrons trading down. I think both of us lost like 3 or 4 squadrons.
I lost Merrick, Dengar, and Morna.
I lost like
You lost Lando, Ketsu,
Dash,
and Nim.
Yeah. Nim was interesting. He really never got to do his thing. I'm still torn on whether Nim would be better than just a blank YT 2400 because of the rogue thing. It's something I still keeps me up at night. And then I kind of chased after Demo, and the Architans killed Demo, and then the Architans, partially because I failed to remember to use the tractor beam, that it kind of just floated away and the game ended there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was I don't think that list, if flown again, wouldn't. I mean, I think it would do better. I just think that there was a few things with squadron positioning that made it so that I only had to deal with one of your 2 threats.
Yeah, like, and especially the way that I deployed, it was like, all right, I'll put half my list here and half my list there, and you really only had to fight half my list with 3/4 of your list.
Right. Yep.
So it was kind of disadvantageous that way, but
I wonder if a deployment like just put it all together in the center and just charge at the Starhawk, like how that plays out. And maybe
I don't know how that would play out either.
Maybe an upgrade on one of your ships that like that adds a die when it shoots at a named squadron. I forget, Callus or whatever.
Oh, Callus.
Something to like give you a little bit more like clear the way against the aces. But
yeah, that's a difficult thing, because you trade out, like if you put Callus instead of Iden, you're trading a lot of aggressiveness for the survivability of Iden.
Yeah.
And like Iden using her 2 evades against squadrons can be really good.
Yeah.
But also Callus is very good against unique squadrons.
But also Raider bad, and it probably should have been Jerk Gazanti.
That's debatable. I mean, the Raider being bad is not debatable. Whether or not it's better to have 2 Gazantis instead of it is, I don't know, because the Raider did pull its weight in killing squadrons and rolling and doing damage.
Like, part of me wonders if this same list is like better with the Raider and the Architans being combined into a slightly bigger, more expensive ship, like if it's possible for that to become an interdictor instead, or a Quasar or something like that, where you can either hit harder or survive longer or throw the squadrons faster and do more damage or something like that. Like,
well, I've run a similar list to this with the long range heavy ion emplacements interdictor and demo, with just another Gazanti and this whole suite of decimators.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is damage control officer.
True, but not everyone runs damage control officer. And
no, but I knew I was going to play against this, so I was like, all right, let me put that one to the side.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to honestly figure out. I'm trying to solve the whole double Gazanti issue. because recently with all this salvo, it's just not as good
Yep.
as it could be. Because I mean, you got two Gazantes, which they just roll one dice, but with Thrawn, if you get a double arc, you can roll one dice and then roll two dice.
Right.
Pretty good. You know, it's not nothing. You can do a couple of damage here and there, maybe once or twice a turn. But now it's if you roll against like a Starhawk with fucking two salvo, it's honestly better to just not attack anything.
Yeah. At long range, you're getting 2 red dice back. You know.
And you got to spend a scatter. It's like, all right, good job. Then if Lando comes in and he says, okay, now you're taking 4 damage,
yep.
You're going to scatter that because then he's just going to chase you and then pop you, and there goes one activation. So
yeah, Lando's still nasty. One of my favorite squadrons of all time.
He can dish out some serious pain.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about for this, or do you want to move on to some cards?
Let's move on to some cards.
Okay. The first one we've got up is Hondo. We're throwing Hondo in here. He's like the first named officer that can work for both factions.
Yeah.
And, you know, comparing him to some other officers, like basically Hondo will give 4 tokens out on the board, 2 that you can pick, and then your opponent gets the other 2. And you can put 1 on one ship, 1 on another ship. Only 2 points. One-time use. The question with Hondo always becomes, when do I use it to minimize the downside of giving my opponent 2 command tokens? That, you know, if I'm playing a list with, you know, squadrons and they're playing a list with squadrons, you know, me taking maybe the squadron and the nav command is really powerful because I'm denying that to them, which would be the 2 tokens that they also want the most, right? But if I'm playing a squadron list and they're playing a no squadron list, I'm giving them concentrate fire and engineering on a list that wants to brawl, not as helpful to me in that situation, you know? I've seen list combos where I'm like, I don't even want to flip my Hondo here, but if you don't use Hondo, it's only, you know, 2 points of your list. We're talking like a very small percentage of your overall list build for something that can give you a nav at a critical time to change your speed, activate an extra squadron, you know, help you repair an extra shield or whatever.
He's cheap enough to where if the ship he's on dies without you having used him, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah. And
like you don't feel like you invested too much in Hondo for him to just get removed from the game.
Right. And if an opponent has a list like my Starhawk list, I only have 1 ship that wants to hurt you, right? So Hondo is not it's not that great for me because I'm not putting tokens on 2 ships that are fighters. So if you play Hondo against my Starhawk list, like, yeah, I get 2 tokens, but only one of them can go on the Starhawk. So, okay, you know, and you're probably gonna leave me with like the squadron token. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and it's like, there you go. You get to use 1 squadron token. You've got all your rogues.
But you can play around it. You know, sometimes you see people with lists where, you know, all they do is nav command. You know, maybe they have a demo or something, and you leave him with the nav token. Also, it's like, well, thanks. I don't really care about this. I nav every turn. Like, so there's a lot of mind games with Hondo that lets you take advantage. I've run Hondo on like dozens of lists, you know, forever. It's such a cool card. Gives you a lot of flexibility for very little points. Love him, love him, love him.
I think Hondo is one of the best officers in the game, specifically for the double ISD list that I ran, because he's just the carrier of the list, and he's just the leader of the command token conspiracy.
Yeah.
So the thing with the double ISD list is I've got 2 fleet commands, like I'm saying. On turn 1, you can bank 1 of those command tokens
from your dial. You mean
fleet commands from your dial? Yeah, you just set it to whatever, like concentrate fire and navigate.
Right.
And you just bank those. Hondo changes the way you can play the game from, at a minimum, having 2 uses of your fleet commands. You spend your token, and then next turn, let's say you just don't have a token. It wasn't in the cards, so you discard the card. That's just 2 rounds of your fleet command.
Right.
Hondo changes that minimum to 3.
Yep.
Always. For every single game, you'll have 3 uses of your
almost
fleet commands.
No matter what.
Almost no matter what.
The only way that would change is if you spent
Lost
the token
Hondo in like round 2.
You spent the token for something you shouldn't have,
Yeah.
And like, the Pelta Rebel list with like all fighters follow me, like love getting 3 turns of really fast B-wings, right? Like, and that's 3 turns of really fast B-wings at a minimum. Because if you play if you play your cards right with like a flotilla with like Consnet, you're gonna be golden, with getting tokens. So Hondo,
and because of Hondo's timing at the start of the ship phase, which is the same timing as fleet commands, you can either spend your command token that you already have on the ship to activate the fleet command, then activate Hondo to refresh it, or
the reverse.
Use Hondo and then spend those command tokens. So even things like I don't know, things that can strip tokens like the MS1 ion cannons can't touch it.
Yep, he's fantastic. And then compared to the other card we have here, Veteran Captain. Veteran Captain is like, I think you could name him Bad Hondo.
Worse Hondo. Bad Hondo. It's like if you already have Hondo in your list, is the only reason to run another Veteran Captain. And you want more tokens still.
So Veteran Captain is when you reveal a command, you can discard to gain a command token of your choice.
Bad Hondo.
But for 1 more point than Hondo, right? So the downside of Hondo, obviously, is you give 2 tokens to your enemy and you take 2 tokens, so it's kind of a wash in terms of like tokens. The 2 points of Hondo basically is like you get to pick the tokens that you get, right? Whereas your enemy does not. Veteran Captain lets you pick which token you get, but only 1, and he costs 1 more point than Hondo.
Honestly, Veteran Captain could benefit from the new kind of card design. This would be a really good card to change to be a multi-use card.
Right.
Instead of just discard. Because him at 3 points, just to discard him when there's Hondo in the game, and obviously Veteran Captain came out way before Hondo did. But this could be a cool card where, you tap it, get a command token, and then somehow untap it, and then you could tap it again later in the game. Could be very good.
Right. I mean, he's okay, but like no one's writing.
I don't think I've ever
letter
seen
to their mother about how Veteran
Captain
changed their life. Yeah, for sure. Is it time to talk about Leia?
It's time to talk about Leia.
Oh my gosh, Leia is such
Your favorite card in the game.
Okay, so Leia is, when you reveal a command, you may choose another friendly ship at distance 1 to 5 and change that ship's top command to your revealed command. Wow. Leia,
the most annoying card in the game.
Like, Leia is so fantastic. You want to put her on a ship with a low command value, right? A flotilla, CR90, something like that.
Hammerhead. I think those are the only 1 commands that.
Right. I almost would never have her on anything other than a flotilla. Like throw Bright Hope on there too, or Commsnet even for more command shenanigans.
Or both.
Leia honestly can change a game, save a ship, and the bigger the ship, the better Leia gets that she's helping, right? Like, so on my 4 command Starhawk, knowing what command I need on turn 4 is difficult, right? It's like, well, what's the state of the game going to be? I have a plan. I think I know what I need. But like in that game against your Decimators, I didn't know that the right decision on turn 3 was going to be the Starhawk commanding...
was going to change his command squadrons.
The Starhawk changing his command to squadrons, even though all of my squadrons, except for 2 A-Wings, have Rogue. because I wanted to get the jump on your decimators before they could get in position to deal, damage to my Starhawk. Leia allowed me to, at the beginning of turn 3, with full knowledge of the board, set a command on a flotilla, being first player, reveal it, change the command on the Starhawk, then the Starhawk, boom, activates, smashes, game basically ended at that point. Like, there was no other way for you to win, and it was only because I spent 3 points,
3 points
on Leia on a flotilla. Right, fantastic. Add into that, she is the anti-slicer tools. Someone comes in with a jerk
I can't even explain how many times I've run in with my jerk Gazanti. I got the dirty slicer tools on a big Starhawk, changed it to something useless, and then Leia comes in next turn and just says, guess what? No, this doesn't happen anymore.
Yep. You keep her safe on a flotilla behind the big ship. Keep everything away from her, and she'll give you lots of happy times. I really love CommsNet on Leia's ship as well, because they don't preclude each other from working. I can change your command to a nav and then pass you a nav token, right? So a Liberty could go from speed 1 to 3 or vice versa without even having the right command dialed in ahead of time.
She's just so flexible, and her ability to change the course of the entire game, it can't be understated, especially for large ships.
Yep.
I would say if you're running a large ship and you have a flotilla in there for Rebel, Leia should be one of your officers.
The staple. Yep. Now, she is sometimes undone by timing. So, for example, there are some times where your large ship, you need to activate it before the flotilla with Leia on it, right? You're in a position where you're first player or maybe even second player, and you're like, I have to activate the big ship or it's going to get kaplunked. So Leia timing can kind of screw with you because it's when you activate the small ship. So she's best on, lists that want to go second. When you have Leia, you want to play like they're going to hit and your counter punch is going to be better, right? Don't put yourself in a situation where your big ship, wants to go first, doesn't have the command, Leia can't help him because the timing is wrong. You also want to make sure that Leia is always activating after slicer tools, and don't limit yourself to Leia activating the turn that you need the command. If your big ship activates, and let's say then slicer tools comes in, changes your ship style for next turn, you can still, think about Leia now. Leia can undo slicer tools for a turn that's going to happen in the future. So sometimes saving her is a good idea as well.
Honestly, one of the strongest Rebel cards.
Love her. Love
Leia. Okay. Also, Leia's not good on MSU lists. Don't worry about Leia Officer.
No.
Maybe worry about Leia Commander when they buff her at some point.
Leia Commander is getting buffed, though.
Yeah.
Well, not buffed, but
reduced
in cost. That's interesting.
Yeah, I may actually fly an MSU. I mean, like, I've always wanted, like, to feel like I had a great MSU commander, and, like, Mothma's pretty good, but Leia would be really
Not
cool.
really. Yeah.
They both could be buffed, honestly. Okay, so CommsNet's up next. What do you think about CommsNet?
I love it. CommsNet, it just feels good to use it every single time. Anytime I use CommsNet, I'm like, this is the dream. It makes my flotillas feel like they're impacting my larger, more important ships. It's just great to make them stronger while having a use for these damn flotillas that can't really do anything anymore.
Flotillas, for me, like, they were activation padding. Before they got nerfed to just 2, people would run 3, 4, 5 of them, and then have one ISD that would come in and go last and then go first and really kill something, right?
Yeah.
Then they, I think corrected for that error by saying, okay, only 2 flotillas. people still brought two to pad activations and make sure that their ships activated when they wanted them to.
I love running 2 flotillas.
But adding CommsNet to the flotilla, you know, it. And again, this is something that its impact is larger on large ship lists, ISDs, Starhawks, MC80s, MC75s. Like your flotilla's bang for the buck here is increased by how big and nasty the ship it's giving CommsNet tokens to. But super flexible, super cheap. For 2 points, find me a better way to pass or give 6 command tokens to your favorite ship on the list. Like there just isn't a better way to do it. And
again, it's similar to Leia in the fact that you can, because of their small command value, you can look at the board state and then decide what this ship needs. Maybe it just needs a couple shields next turn. Maybe it needs to go down or up 1 or 2 speed.
A lot of the time it needs that nav token at a specific timing. But sometimes, prepping turn 1 and turn 2 and just loading up your fat ship with engineering token, concentrate fire token, all of that extra stuff really gives it staying power for later, makes it able to do a lot more. And it's so good that like people pay basically 20 points for CommsNet flotillas to follow their big ship around, and they're not really paying 2 points, they're paying 20. Now, yeah, it comes with the added benefit of activation padding, but it still ends up being well worth the investment, in my opinion.
And again, like being able to pass a command token to a ship that has a fleet command that consumes that every turn, it's so good.
Yep. That's all I have to say about CommsNet, honestly. Like, it's fantastic. All these cards, except for Veteran, is like...
Veteran Captain is...
They're just consistently on the board on my side of the table. I'll say that.
These are all probably some of the best cards dealing with commands and command tokens.
Yep. For now. And that kind of brings us to the future.
Clone Wars. Yeah, Clone Wars ship review.
So we're reviewing the Acclimator today, or at least what we know about it.
No, we're reviewing all the ships.
Oh, we're doing them all?
We're doing them all. We got them all here.
Ooh.
Last episode we did the cards, now we're doing the ships.
Okay, fantastic. So we're starting with the Acclimator then.
Starting with the Acclimator.
The Acclimator, for me, is an iconic ship for the Clone Wars, and it's, dare I say, a mistake for any other ship than the Acclimator to be the main focus of the core set for the Republic. It's
of course.
You know,
I would have to say, based on this render, this is one of the best painted models that they've released so far.
It's so cool looking.
It looks
blood
incredible.
Stripes, the logo. It looks so great. I'm so excited to put it on the table. Good. And I guess like the closest argument to the Acclimator would be the Victory 1 and Victory 2 for the Empire, right?
Yes, I would say that based on the cost comparison of the Acclimator 1 and the Victory 1, you're getting cheaper ship, but a less powerful ship.
I would say that is true to an extent. However, I think the Victory is a little bit overcosted, especially the Victory 2 at 85 points. And I don't think
that is also true.
I think that the Acclimator is going to be what the Victory's price should have been, about 8 or so points cheaper than it actually is for a 2-speed, 7 or 8 hull, 3 defense token ship with 6 dice out of the front. Like, no one really flies a Vic, and it's because,
and if you do, you're investing way too many points.
It's because it's just about 8 points too expensive, and I'm really hoping that the Acclimator's price brings it into a sweet spot. Right around the cost of an assault frigate, but for a forward-facing, ship of the line that points its guns forward, charges at you, and smash, smash, smash. And I think the keywords bring a lot of uniqueness to the ship. And
I'm really interested to see what they do with all these keywords.
I think one is going to be geared more toward like pushing squadrons with the double offensive retrofit, and the other one is going to be more of a smash smash kind of boy.
Yeah. Well, the Acclimator one, at least the one that we see, it loses a front die, because the Victory one has 3 red, 3 black, and this one has 3 red, 2 black.
Right.
But also interesting is it gains 1 extra shield in the front, and then loses 2 on the side. It's got 4 in the front and 2 on the sides.
Right.
Instead of the Victory's 3, 3, and 3.
For me, losing a black die on a 2-speed ship does not make me that sad.
That's not really affecting it at all.
Does not make me that sad. Because...
But it also has the it's got the torpedo slot too.
Yes, it does. But again, I don't like...
Probably not going to be what it's primarily used for.
Right. Like, I'm just happy that it has 3 red out of the front. Some...
You know what would be interesting with this one? Because it's got torpedo. It's got the double offensive retrofit, which we've seen a lot for carrier ships.
Right.
Acclimator is known to be a carrier ship. It's got double black.
Yep.
So I could see this getting right into the thick of it with a lot of squadrons around it, and taking flechette torpedoes, maybe linked, not linked turbo lasers. There's one heavy bombardment zone.
Yeah.
Maybe that and flechette torpedoes, and absolutely dominating the squadron scene with just one Acclimator 1.
Just let it charge in there and be what the Raider always wanted to be.
Like, come up with a list of 134 points of squadrons that can deal with the bulk of an Acclimator with flechette, heavy bombardment zone, and a complement of squadrons.
Yeah. And, with the title that we saw the other day, where they're, healing each other and helping their squadrons out, I think it's going to be part of a list that wants to point forward and just try and stop me.
Yeah, the implacable for a friendly ship or squadron, distance 1 to 2, suffers damage from an attack. Exhaust this card and spend up to 2 shields from your front hull zone. Reduce the total damage by that amount. Incredible.
Get them engaged with a bunch of, re-rolling V19s with Swarm. The squadrons can't even shoot your Acclimator, and then you're flacking out of the front, just annihilating.
Stunning them with the flechette torpedoes. I feel like it's going to be an absolute smasher.
Yeah.
If anyone tries to decide to bring squadrons against this.
Yep, it's going to be great.
All right, so now a little more difficult to pinpoint is the consular cruiser.
Okay. So the consular, he has comparisons to the 2 corvettes that are in the game already. The CR90 and the Raider.
Now let me stop you right there. I'm seeing something here that makes me furious.
Tell me.
Why you tell me, give me one good reason why the fuck the consular class armed cruiser, this new shit, gets a redirect when the Raiders get fucking nothing.
Well, the Raider and
fucking
what's interesting
bullshit.
Is the dynamic between the Raider and the Corvette, right? So the Raider is the same points as the Corvette essentially, right? The CR90, I mean.
CR90A, yeah.
Less maneuverable, obviously, at higher speeds. It loses 1 tick at 3 and 4 on the final. Gets twice as much anti-squadron die. It gets 1 extra die on the front.
Black, yeah.
And has a brace instead of a redirect. It's almost like the Raider and the CR90 are like mirror inverse like versions of each other. The problem is the Raider doesn't want to get...
CR90. I would say that the CR90A is better in every aspect than the Raider 1.
But yes, I agree with that. because I think there's fundamentally a misfire between double evade tokens and no red dice. What is
There is.
like?
What is going on?
I want
with
my
that?
CR90 to be at medium, preferably long range, because I can cancel die with my evades. I can roll my red dice. I don't have to worry about blacks. I don't have to really worry about blues that much, and I can get TRC and I can do some good damage and I can get in and out and duck and dive and swoop and blah. The Raider wants to punch you in the mouth with its 2 black, 2 blue. And if you shoot back at it, the only thing you can do is brace, because it's a black range. And if you have literally 1 accuracy, 6 damage deletes it.
It's done.
Whereas the CR90 being at long range, let's say you roll 6 damage. Oh, okay, well, one of them's canceled by an evade. If you accuracy it, the other, there's still another evade. And then it redirects, so it takes 1, 2, 3, 4 on the shields and only 2 through to the hull. So it's
so in the same shot that kills a Raider no matter what, CR90 survives.
Yep. Now at that long range versus close range, but the point of the Raider is to be at close range, so the double evade makes it an incoherent mess in terms of what
and let's say
be.
For argument's sake, the Raider 2 can be kitted out to be effective at long range, obviously with disposable capacitors and heavy ion emplacements.
Sure.
But
now you're spending like 60 points on a Raider.
Most expensive combination I've ever seen to make a bad ship maybe okay.
Right. Yeah. So that brings us to the cool new ship, the Consular, which I think in some regards is trying to split the difference between the two.
Mm-hmm. It's got double blue anti-squadron.
Double blue anti-squadron.
Which we normally only see on large ships with double blue.
Right.
I don't think there's another ship that has
a Liberty with double blue, I think, or an MC80 Home 1 version. But it's ISD2, I think.
ISD2.
Yeah,
ISD2
it's a lot of.
blue.
It's like it's really good.
It's very long range. Yeah.
It's really, really good to have double blue flak for sure. Evade, redirect, contain. I'm not a huge fan of contain on a 4-hull ship. I wish that was a brace, but I think that having a brace, redirect, evade brings it into like medium ship category, like a assault frigate or something. And I understand why they didn't do
contain almost seems worse than a second evade, to be honest.
It is on a ship like this. Yes, I think it has better than the Raider, but worse than the CR90 tokens. And I don't know if do we have a picture anywhere of the Consular's guns?
You mean the dice?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the picture above these cards.
Oh, on the cardboard.
They've got a black 2 blue out of the front, blue black, and then blue in the rear.
And that's just that one version, the
that's just
armed
that one version,
cruiser.
So.
And I wonder if the other version has less, like, because I don't know, the fact that it's saying it's an armed cruiser, is the other one like a flotilla almost, like being like a transport?
I feel like it would be a clone type ship.
Yeah. Like,
because they stated pretty obviously in the in-flight report that the Consular class cruiser, that was more like the senatorial guard. Yeah. And so I feel like that'll have keywords to match. I hope the other one has some red and blue. Give me like another, basically a Corvette A. Or even red black would be better. It would match up with the assault ship, the acclimator one, right? Red black. Yeah, red black. That would be good. Yeah. It's going to be a very nimble option for the Republic. Not as nimble as the CR90, not even as nimble as the Raider. However, I think making up for the lack of agility on an acclimator, it's going to do a lot of work to flak squadrons. It's going to do a lot of work to get in and out of trouble, shoot, have a good time. Yeah, I think having double blue is really effective for staying nimble. Because one of the things with the Raider is, once you get in black range, if you're going speed 3, you get that one shot and then you're out. You can't turn around or anything.
Yeah.
So I think having double blue is good for being fast.
Gosh, I
staying
love the
fast.
idea of double blue flak on a 50-point ship. You know, like a below 50-point ship. Like you could have like 4 of these, and you're just like
laying down crazy amounts of
like these
firepower
droid
on these
fighters
squadrons.
are done for, dude. They're wrecked.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
it's like what you do 8 dice of flak.
like literally a
for
Victory
set of
2
squadrons.
Star Destroyer for 85 points, 1 blue flag.
God,
Like
it's
this
a
thing
joke.
just has like point defense out the wazoo. I'm obsessed.
Oh, and if these come with like an offensive retrofit and you can re-roll the crit icons, that would be incredible. That's what, for 5 points?
I'm hoping the other consular is 2 squadron value instead of 1 also. I would trade a second squadron value for a single flak on the other one to give us like because like the Republic starting off does not have like a flotilla, you know. So like I just love the idea
that we know of.
Well,
because they could make the Corvette like they did with the hard sell. They could give it.
Yeah, I feel like
support.
they would have said that if they said basically like one of them is a flotilla.
Yeah.
But like just like having a low cost ship with 2 squadron power pushing, like to me feels really good. 2 squadron is like it's a deployment, right? So people tend to deploy people tend to bring even numbers of squadrons because they deploy evenly. Having, a cruiser that we can put off to the side with 2 nasty squadrons and push them around and flak or shoot some damage, apart from the main, like, oh, I'm bringing, 2 acclimators and they can each push 3 squadrons. Like, I want something a little bit smaller to
kind
push
of a little
squadrons,
more
a little
divided.
bit cheaper. Yeah, long range.
Yeah, you're right. It is kind of awkward to just have like 1 squadron. It's not really a full deployment.
I mean, all of the Corvettes in the game so far, I think, are 1 squadron, but maybe this will help differentiate it a little bit also. Maybe I'm asking for too much, who knows.
Maybe that is too much. Maybe that's why it's not the case.
I'm just ready for the Republic Pelta, I think.
Well, you could always put expanded hangar bays on it, I guess, if you really want to push 2 squadrons.
See, the problem with things like that is, like, the cheaper the ship, the less impact upgrades are on it, because it has less hull, less shields, more likely to die. You don't get to take advantage of that 1 extra squadron as much as you would on like a true carrier ship, like expanded hangar is going on my acclimator 1, to give it 4 squadron. Like, that's just happening.
God, it's gonna be incredible. And then you bank a token, then you're pushing 5 squadron. Ugh.
All right, so how about your suppies? How are they doing?
Oh my god. Let me tell you, they look incredible. The Munificent is one of those ships that I never really paid attention to that much, but seeing it now, it looks amazing.
Yeah, I love the scaled, like almost like plate armor layers of it.
Yeah, and I kind of like the whole design aesthetic for the Separatists. It looks like a lot of their ships are like kind of submarine-esque.
I get that. I see
like,
that.
Like you would see these breaching the water, shooting some torpedoes, and then running away. I just really like the way that all these Separatist ships look. Except the hard cells. They look dopey.
Well, that's 50% of your ships right now, dude.
I mean, I know, but like they look like they're supposed to be like rockets and everything just blasting off, and now they're like just kind of sideways.
Yeah, this was definitely a ship designed to look good taking off from the planet as they shot at them, and not necessarily designed to look good going through space.
Yeah. But my dreams have finally been answered. I can play with a small ship with 3 red dice out the front.
Oh, we Nebulon B now, huh?
Oh, we're Nebulon B right now. It looks so good.
Oh my god, is it one shield on the
gives
sides?
Us both of.
It literally is a Nebulon B.
Yeah.
Oh wow, 3 red dice out of the front, 3 shields out of the front, 1 shield out of the sides. And do we know what its defense tokens are? If it doesn't have a redirect, oh my god, that's hilarious. Imagine, dude, if it's literally a Nebulon B.
Well, honestly, at this point, if it doesn't have a redirect, it doesn't really matter that much because the one on the side is.
As a Rebel player, let me tell you, taking a shot on the side hurts. Although the arcs are not as devastating as the Nebulon B's arcs for the sides. So
yeah, it's got such a large front arc. It's pretty incredible.
So who are we talking about first? The Munificent?
The Munificent.
Okay.
Holy shit.
6 hull. Brace, redirect, salvo. 2 speed, 1 click, and then 1 click, 2 click.
That 1 click, 2 click, all of my dreams have come true. From the victory, having to deal with it having no click, 1 click.
Yeah.
It makes me want to vomit. It's
so
awful.
It looks like its shields are 4 on the front, 3 on the sides, 2 on the back, or 3 on the back? 2 on the back.
2 on the back, yeah.
Looks
with
like
red dye anti-squadron. Oof.
Yeah, this is the comms frigate, so this seems to be the less shoot focused one, more of the support one, right? So even still, 2 red, 2 blue.
I don't know about that with the 3 red dice out the side. That seems really good for just the lesser of the.
Yeah, 3 red at the side, 2 in blue at the front. But my thought is, if this is the comms frigate, right? This is the one that's pushing your squadrons. It's got less scary dice, maybe. Maybe we're looking at the other one with like some blues in the side or something, maybe even a blue-black version that wants to get up and smash. Like, I see this as the support version compared to whatever the other one is, like the assault frigate, maybe.
Yeah.
So what are we comparing this to? We're comparing this to the assault frigate, I think, the most, right?
The assault frigate and the interdictor.
Okay, I don't see the okay. Like, so I see slightly where you're thinking with the interdictor, which is like only 2 speed, 2 red, 2 blue out of the front. You've got, but the interdictor, like, first of all, has the weird weapon. It has a lot more dice, insane engineering, 9 hull, double flak, like 2 contain.
I'm actually comparing it to the interdictor because of the insane engineering. Because as we've seen with the Munificent, it's got some real potential for survivability based on its upgrade cards and how high of an engineering value it has.
However, I would say that the Munificent that we're seeing, I think, is, of all the ships in the game, closest to an assault frigate.
For sure.
And that's because it's got 3 tokens, trades and evade for a salvo. It's got, 4 engineering,
3 red out the side,
6 hull, 3 red out the side. Of course, the assault frigate has a blue also, but it feels like that middling ship of the line. Yeah, it can repair, but like the assault frigate, it can repair too. Like, I don't think
it's going to have anything on the survivability of the Munificent.
I think the Munificent is a more survivable, like, it's like if you had like, a sliding scale of everything, like you're going 1 notch down on DPS and you're going 1 notch up on survivability from the assault frigate.
But also, Munificent has the native salvo instead of the evade that the assault frigate has.
That's true. Yeah, that makes it a little bit
that's
more
really going to help.
Of a puncher for sure.
And it looks like I see a red dice on the rear. I don't know if that's 1 or 2, but if it has 2 die salvo, that's going to be incredibly good.
If it has 1 die salvo, that's going to be kind of pissy.
Yeah. I think, because I see the assault frigate Mark II-B. I think that's going to be pretty comparable to what the Munificent is.
Yeah.
So I think we might get a 2 red die salvo. So those are pretty nasty to take.
Yeah, 2 red die out of the back. Maybe not even on the comms frigate, but it's on the more expensive one. It might be some real fun shenanigans for sure.
I'm gonna run a lot of these. These seem so cool.
So the other one is the hard sell that we were talking about earlier. And what is this ship like?
This ship, I feel, is most like the Architans, a front side comparison. So the Architans is really the only kind of ship I've played with, at least, that can shoot 3 reds out the front, other than like the Nebulon, but that really is a different role.
I see what you're talking about, though. Maybe more of a hammerhead or Yavaris.
Yeah.
Because it's, Architans is a 2-command ship. Architans has, 4 defense tokens. It's got a really weird way of moving around with the nothing, nothing, nothing except for the last click. I see the hard sell as being more Nebulani, more maneuverable in a classic way. Wants to shoot out of the front, doesn't want to get shot in the sides. One command, right?
Now that you bring up the Nebulon comparison, I'm really starting to see where this ship will probably fit in, because it's got that fleet support.
Yep.
So it'll probably be less, I don't know, classically aggressive as like the Architans, and more kind of weird. But it's kind of like is that a defensive retrofit on the hard sell?
Yep, that is.
Hard sell battle refit?
Yep, the battle refit has
retrofit
defensive and offensive and a turbo laser. So
let me tell you, if there's an evade token on this hard sell, putting TRCs on a fleet of hard cells is going to be pretty fucking awesome.
I agree that the battle refit one could be some nice red guns with some dice fixing from TRC. The other one, I think, is the one that's going to be your fleet support with...
yeah, the 2 red, 1 blue.
Yeah. Which will be... I think it has the... What is that other upgrade that it has? Do you see it? It's like
turbo laser.
It's like the retrofit. One right below the officer slot on the.
That's the offensive retrofit.
No, on the back card.
That's not the hard sell. That's the other munificent. You can see the icons are different.
Shoot, you're right. Okay, well I'm wrong then. But yeah, so we know the smaller, cheaper one is gonna have fleet command. So.
Oh, but here look, the hard sell, the other variant in the back behind the munificent. That one's got 2 squadron.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That's the one that's like
dice,
a flotilla.
1 blue. That one is going to be more of a flotilla / Yavaris, where it's going to be pushing some squadrons and fleet support. I really like that.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be a cool ship for sure. It's expensive, like Architans though.
Yeah, those red dice are expensive.
Well, that's all the ships.
Hopefully the other one is cheaper, yeah. Yep, that's all of them.
So
what are we doing next?
Well,
like the next time we play, what are we running?
I really kind of want to run like a Rebel Liberty something list. Maybe I'll pull like a Liberty and Friends, maybe some MC30s. I really love the MC30, and I always struggled to make it work properly. So I may do like a Admonition, Mon Karen, Bid for First kind of list.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably where I'm thinking right now. What about you?
I haven't decided yet. I keep wanting to try and run the victory, but every time I put it together,
you hate yourself after?
It has to have. I just hate it. It's so expensive. I'm really hoping that there's some points adjustments that allow multiple victories to be on the table. I want to run 2 or 3 victories again without getting absolutely wiped off the table.
Yeah.
It's just the individual ship chassis just isn't good enough.
It's too expensive for the speed that it operates at.
Yeah.
And it has...
Like, if it was just cheaper and I could run, like, 4 victories...
Right. I mean,
that would be...
If someone's scared of your victory, they just turn away and go too fast for it. Like, it's one of those things that I hope at some point soon, maybe with the new card changes, or maybe a ship cost change at some point, that because like it is one of the coolest models. I find it way more exciting than an ISD. It's a fun ship, love it. It needs to be cool and good again.
Yeah. All right, well, that's it today.
That's it.
All right, awesome.